coastal erosion and melting permafrost and decrease in glacier size, those are all very real to us. Some believe that in order to mitigate these changes, it will require a global effort to decrease the release of human-produced greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. However, simply just waiting for low carbon emitting renewable capacity to be large enough will mean that it will be too late to meet the mitigation goals for reducing CO2 that will be required under most credible climate change models. Meeting these goals will require a dramatic increase in preferred available fuels, including our clean natural gas, that all have a very low carbon footprint and that can be used within existing energy infrastructure. These available fuels are required to supply America's energy needs during that transition to the green energy alternatives. In the meantime, our nation cannot afford to wait for the capacity of renewable fuel sources to be large enough to meet our growing energy demands. So in a very real way, delaying production in OCS will lead to less available natural gas for America, meaning higher greenhouse gas concentrations. Furthermore, and this to me is very exciting, Alaska's OCS has received little analysis of its potential to provide renewable energy resources such as wind and tidal power. As we transition to green alternatives, we can't afford to foreclose those opportunities in our OCS. Allowing exploration there helps provide the analysis that we need on renewables coming from the Arctic. It's very, very exciting to consider the potential there, especially with the tides. Now, protection of our animals. Some are going to claim that responsible oil and gas development isn't compatible with protection of species such as the polar bear. However, the peer-reviewed science conducted by the USGS that supported the listing of the polar bear as a threatened species identified the loss of sea ice, not oil and gas development, as the reason. And it's ironic that efforts to restrict the development of Alaska's energy resources would then have us dependent on the production of energy from less environmentally preferred fuels and locations. Stopping safe, responsible domestic energy production of preferred fuels does not solve the issues associated with global warming and threatened or endangered species, but really it can make it worse. Now, it may not be very well understood in much of America that Alaska has decades of experience in safely developing our oil and gas. Over our history, the technology in the industry has become sophisticated, allowing directional drilling from a single surface location for miles in different directions. And the footprints now left by drilling activities, it's shrunk from around 65 acres back in 1978 to about 9 acres now. During this same time, the feds and state regulatory processes have matured, and we now subject our oil and gas activities to an in-depth analysis under NEPA and very stringent permitting requirements and oversight. My administration committed to doing things right, environmentally safe and ethically, because as Alaskans, we love our land, we love our environment, and we have every incentive to do things right and to ensure that development is done right, or we don't want that development done at all. We love our pristine land, our water, our air. Very quickly, let me touch on the socioeconomic effects of OCS. Amazingly, Alaska is one of the only states that does not receive a portion of revenues generated in the OCS. While Alaskans strongly support offshore development, recent polls show about 77% of Alaskans do support OCS drilling. We also recognize the impact to our state and local governments whose institutions and communities are affected by OCS. So I strongly support changes to federal law to provide states and coastal communities with a fair percentage of revenues derived from OCS activity. Now, this is all, to me, very exciting because there are solutions here in Alaska to America's energy challenges. Alaskan OCS will play a very significant role in the nation's energy and economic future. We're the head, not the tail. We can help lead in a much-needed U.S. energy production program and quit being so reliant on some foreign sources of energy that come from unstable, dangerous regimes that don't necessarily like America. Alaska is key in all of this, and Alaska has consistently supported OCS oil and gas. We do so recognizing that there are certain areas that should be exempted from leasing or have seasonal drilling restriction to protect well migrations. Now, we do so because we recognize the significance OCS has on the nation's and the state's security and our future. And we do so because we know oil and gas development can happen appropriately and responsibly, and we can protect the environment and our animals and our people, and we've proven that this can be done. In summary, the fact that OCS potential to produce oil and gas is world-class is supported by the best peer-reviewed scientific estimates with MMS and USGS. Alaska's resources can and should be a major part of the implementation of any creditable energy plan for America, and we have proven our resources can be developed safely. But Arctic exploration and development is a slow and demanding process. Delays or major restrictions in accessing our needed resources for environmentally responsible development are not in the nation's or our state's best interest. So again, Mr. Secretary, I thank you so much for coming to Alaska. It's my belief that our interests surrounding OCS are closely aligned, and it's my hope that we can work together and be consulted as policy issues are considered by your department. Thank you so much, and enjoy Alaska.